Okay. Redo. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Shut Up.
Keep going.
I'm Sydnee Goodman.
I'm Kate Franklin.
And this is a podcast where we explore our internet curiosities. Every time we do that, I'm like, God, we're so annoying.
And my voice is kind of going out on that, but
Before we kick things off, well, one, I want to say a huge thank you to everybody who's watching us record this live on Twitch. Thank you. You too can watch us record live on Twitch, twitch.tv/SidSoGood. Every Monday, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. And I'm laughing because we're recording this on Friday at 9:30. So, make sure you tune in to check out what time we actually will be live. But after this month, it seems like we will be live at our usual time. Let's see. Kate, I have a fun fact for you that you already know, but it made me think of you.
Okay, what?
So I was listening to a podcast that I listen to, and everyone don't go click out and listen to this podcast. Instead, stay here. Do you listen to Smartless?
No.
So Smartless is the Will Arnett, Jason Bateman, and the other guy that used to be on Will and Grace podcast. I think you'd really.
My mailman uncle is always telling me to listen to it.
It's really good. I mean, I only listen to. They always have a celebrity guest. I choose based on what the guest is. But it's an interview show, and it's fun because they are the hosts are celebrities, and they're all good friends. And so I feel like their interviews, like the guests are always. It sounds like listening in on like friends conversations versus like a very like buttoned up kind of interview. But they had Paul Thomas Anderson on, and I just finished that podcast episode. I think you'd really like it. And I had no idea he was married to Maya Rudolph.
Listen, I don't love the man for no reason.
Like, what?
Isn't that amazing?
It made me love him even more. Like,
he's the best.
What good we already knew he had great taste, but like, what
can
great
you imagine
taste.
if your parents are Maya Rudolph and Paul Thomas?
Well, they have four kids.
I peed next to his daughter at the movie theater.
Are they older? Like, how old are the kids?
His daughter is like 16, and then the rest are younger.
Oh, okay. Well,
she's like so beautiful. I'm like, good for you, sis. Like,
yeah. So I wanted to share that, even though I knew it was information you already knew, but it made me think of you the entire time.
That's not information that he's on that podcast, because I listen to every single thing he goes on because I'm psychotic. So
no, I highly suggest it. I mean, it does take a second to get used to, like, because the hosts it's very unprofessional. Like, the hosts all kind of just talk over each other, and sometimes they forget the guest is there, and then they just like start talking about random shit, and you're kind of just like listening to them.
It's literally what we do on this podcast all the time.
Yeah, but
editing. I was editing one of ours, and I was like, wow, the topic doesn't start until like 40 minutes in.
Wow, you lucky listeners getting to listen in on a friendship conversation. I don't know, did you have anything you wanted to catch up on before we dive into the topic?
Happy freaking birthday, belated.
Thank you. Yeah, everybody. My birthday was on Friday. So it was like a topsy-turvy day, to be honest.
Okay.
But it was a great day. It ended up being a great day. Okay. But I was really proud of myself because I feel like it highlighted how much I've grown as a person. Mm-hmm. Just like, maybe not since last year, but just like my trajectory has been really great. And I, in high school even, and this is interesting because you knew me in high school, so you can confirm this. In high school, I feel like I was I liked everything planned. I was not very flexible, if that makes sense. Like, it's like I kind of had in my head, like, this is what I'm doing, this is the plan, this is the schedule. And when things didn't go as scheduled, I would get really stressed out and like kind of like antsy. And I'm sure that came off a certain way. I mean, we all know people like that, right? I was one of those people. And Monday, just like everything went awry. So I am shooting a show. Unfortunately, I can't tell you guys what that show is. Really excited to tell you when I can. But I was shooting this show, and we weren't even supposed to shoot on Monday, but like the interview that I was supposed to do was supposed to be today, actually. And they were like, oh, he like can only shoot on Monday. Like, and I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, I wanted to take the day off, but that's not really the production's problem to like work around my birthday. That would have just been nice. And they were so apologetic. They were like, oh my gosh, we're so sorry. Like, it's your birthday. Like, you have to work on your birthday. And I was like, it's really not a big deal. It's fine. Like, what time are we going to wrap? And wrapping means like, what time am I getting off, basically? And they were like, oh, like 3:30. And I was like, oh, great. That literally makes no difference then, because we have dinner reservations at like 5:15. And have you ever been to Felix in Venice? So it's this I've never either, because they do this stupid thing where they only let you make reservations a week in advance. So like if I wanted to eat there next Friday, I would have to like rush at Thursday at midnight going into Friday to like make the reservation. It's so stupid.
And is it like a sought after restaurant?
Yes, and it's very sought after. It's like panned as some of the best Italian food in LA, and so it's just like this.
Hey, wait, panned means bad.
Wait, really? Universally panned?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I've for sure been saying panned like it's universally like just like a like universal like held opinion. I didn't know it had a negative connotation.
Wow, that really set me somewhere.
That reminds me, so I was writing this I wrote this lab report and I like worked my ass off, and because I like science does not come naturally to me, but I decided to major in science. So difficult. It was not fun. Anyways, I wrote this lab report and I was really tight with my lab professor, and I started it off by saying something, whatever was detrimental to whatever. And he was like, Sydnee, you like, I would have given you like basically like an A+ on this lab report. It was so good, but your opening sentence says that this thing was detrimental, and like the finding was that it's really beneficial. And I was like, yeah, it's detrimental, like it's like really important to blah blah. He's like, do you know what detrimental means? And I was like, yeah, it means that something's like integral, like it's very important. He was like, no, detrimental means it's like bad. And I was so embarrassed. I was like, oh my gosh, girl.
Oh my God. I mean, that's actually not to further pathologize you, but that is a symptom of ADHD, is that you kind of use words like kind of chaotically, because you're like, it's there.
It's enough, right? It's like the essence.
I remember when I got tested for ADHD, they kept asking me definitions of words, and I was like, what? Like, why are you asking me this? And then I looked it up after, and it's because we like approximate things. Yes. We're like, oh yeah, like panned. I think the opposite of panned is praised. I think it's like it's universally praised or it's universally panned. But so you kind of just were like, it's in one of those.
It's close enough. 50%, 55th. But yeah, so okay. So I had this, it's universally praised as some of the best Italian food in LA. And I'll let you know if, spoiler alert, we didn't go. So I'll let you know when I dine there in the future, whether or not that's true. But, I get to my call time and I'm in the makeup chair, and my producer comes up and she's like, hey, Sydnee, oh, you know what? I'm going to just like scoot around so I can see, like talk to you to your face, which, is like kind of a bad thing, because otherwise producers have no problem, and it's not a good or a bad thing, but people are just talking. It's like, you don't need eye contact. And so she comes over and she's like, so it's about 11:30 right now, and you were supposed to do the interview at 11:45. We just heard from his people and he is no longer available. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? I just drove all the way out here. We do not shoot close to my home. Drove all the way out here for this, and I canceled my workout. I'm not saying that, actually. I was just like, okay, like, when are we going to shoot the interview then? She was like, well, he's actually only available at 5 p.m. tonight. And I was like,
oh,
okay. And they were so great. Like, they had one of the PAs call and cancel the reservation, and like offered to reschedule it, and they ended up saying they wanted to pay for Alex and I to eat there at some point in the future. So like, they were really apologetic, and it was just, one of those things where it's like the timing didn't work out, and that's fine. But personal growth, I was like, you know what? that's fine. Like, I'll figure out what to do in the interim, and like,
Mhm.
it happens, you know, it's just like, it happens. And so I tell Alex, and he's like, okay, that's fine. Blah, blah, blah. So then I do my day, we shoot, the interview goes great. And then I drive home, and turns out, so I have these friends, and this is bittersweet, Kate, because you weren't there. But I've been hanging out with these girls, and they threw me a surprise party,
You've
which,
been hanging out with other people. I'm
no,
good.
I'm saying it's
I'm
sad
totally
because
kidding.
they
I'm totally
didn't
kidding.
know you,
No,
because
no,
you
it's
guys have
fine. I
never
know it's fine.
met, and so you weren't able to be
Oh, that's
there.
so
But they did. But they threw me a
cute.
surprise party, and Alex just told them that, like, hey, she's running late, like, she's gonna be earlier, so they just like moved it up. Um,
Oh,
and it
cute.
was really sweet, and so it was just like, oh, this is really nice. So it ended up just working out, and it didn't even matter that we didn't go to dinner, and we're actually gonna go there
Wow.
in a bit anyways. So it was a nice day.
That's good. I actually,
Yeah.
that's so funny. I had to do a shoot on my birthday too. And
Oh.
it's the first year I was like, oh, I guess my birthday, yeah, it doesn't matter, right? It's just a
It's,
day.
yeah, it's like a
It's like the
really,
first year that I realized that
it's a
fully.
weird wake up when you're like, oh wait, like, I don't matter.
I know. That's so funny.
um but yeah, so it was really great. And then if you guys didn't know, Kate's birthday is coming up, so not that you care, but we're gonna do a
I
little
just raised the roof. Oh my
gal
God.
extravaganza birthday double celebration in April.
Pisces season.
Pisces season, baby. Fish. Do you relate to being a Pisces?
1000%. It's the best sign.
I do too, okay? And I feel like, but I don't really believe in astrology. That's astrology, right?
Hmm.
I get astrology and astronomy confused a lot.
I'm becoming like a full crystals bitch. I don't really know why. It's just really landing
Oh,
for me.
wait, I'd love to hear more. Why do you like you actually do you like carry
Not really.
crystals?
No, but it's actually I don't really want to get into it.
Okay.
But
Well,
it's because it's really sorry, my voice is going out this morning. It's really unfounded and vague, my association with like the
the
I
crystal
don't know, like
movement.
new agey, like whatever.
Yeah.
But so I would sound like an idiot if I talked about it. But let's just say someone explained tarot to me when I was coming down off of an experience, and I was like, this it rocks and checks out.
Okay, so like tarot, I like don't understand.
Okay, and see, this is why like I'll try to explain it, and
I can
it
also just
probably
look
is
it up
not.
if you're not comfortable explaining.
Well, can I try to explain it and then you can
Yeah.
tell me if I'm right?
Okay.
Okay. So what it is like it's a deck of cards that have that's okay. I'm not gonna get into what the deck is, but basically it's like you pull cards and it's vague. It's not fortunes, it's not like supernatural. It's basically like it'll say like this thing can happen to you. And you basically can manifest it as like a positive or a negative. Does that make sense? So like it's just a way of like framing your perspective on like how you're going to move into the future.
So it's kind of like
That's probably a terrible
well,
explanation,
okay.
but
So no, because I think I'm getting to what you're getting to. And if you're listening and you're like, oh my gosh, you guys talk about the topic. This is interesting, okay? So this is the topic. Topic A.
okay.
Um yeah, so like it sounds like, okay, so there's the whole concept of like manifesting, right? Which theoretically you
Mhm.
could choose like anything that you want to focus on and like manifest. So do tarot cards just kind of give you more direction in that?
That's how I was led to understand it. Is
Oh,
like
okay.
yeah, it's like uh yeah, just a way of like framing like if you're given something it's like, "Hey, like this might happen to you." You can it's really vague. And so you can say like that I could use that to my advantage and like do this, this, and this to like make that a good thing, or like it could be a bad thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a way of like storytelling to like help manifest a better future for yourself, is what I would say. It is.
Interesting.
I
I've
don't know if
always
you
been
know
like
who
freaked out by it, to be honest. But go
I
ahead.
was too, but then someone did it for me and I was like, this fucking rocks. Like I was really into it. And but I was also like not necessarily like in the right mindset where I knew it was going on, but I'm thinking of getting into it because this guy that I love, Jodorowsky, who's like that amazing filmmaker. Do you know him?
No.
He made The Holy Mountain and El Topo. He's like this crazy psychedelic
Oh, we've
guy.
talked about this. We talked about this. Yes, yes, yes.
He's like super, super into it and like lives by it. And I trust him. So, and he loves cats. So what are you gonna
Oh,
do? You
okay.
got to trust people that love
You
cats.
really do.
There was a really big discussion at my house about how dogs are better than cats, and I really got upset and had to stand up and lecture people with my little finger
You
like
know,
this.
I support that because I don't agree with it at all. One, I think that people who feel the need to assert that dogs are better than cats just shows off the bat. Like, I feel like cat people don't generally stand up and go, cats are better, everyone. Because people
Yeah.
who like are on the vibe and able to connect with cats, just like it's not the vibe.
Yeah. Well, it's just like they're different animals, and B, personally, my argument for cats is like it's a way more deep relationship because cats rely on trust so much that
Mm-hmm.
it's like Ernie is literally my guy. Like he would
Yes.
die for me.
Yes.
So maybe probably not, but like he gives the best snuggles. So
Yes.
better than a dog, I have to say.
No, I agree. I think that people, sorry, everybody who's listening to this, if you're a dog person, I think people who like are so convicted about dogs are better than cats, like cats are just bitchy, like controlling people and think that control and love are the same thing.
1000%.
I said it.
1000%.
I said it.
Okay.
But we don't have to get
Yeah.
into that. So,
Okay.
did you want to talk about
Should
your
we get in?
topic?
Yes. I'd love to.
Oh, great. Perfect.
Let me pull it up. And I have a very detailed image guide that
I know.
I
I noticed you
sent
sent me
you.
quite a few images. And just a reminder,
Um,
everybody, if you're like, images what? We put the whole
mhm.
video recording up on YouTube if you want to check it out that way. Otherwise, the images do show up on our image guide, which is on our Instagram. And that's shut up, keep going, all one word. So if you want to follow along or just peer into kind of what were the additive visual bonuses, you can.
Yay. Okay, everyone. So we've been reading the news. It's been a little depressing, but something fun in the news that I've seen recently,
Ooh.
which a lot of people probably know this, so like just be along for the recap ride with me, but there is a fun twist at the end that is not being covered in the news. And this is about the discovery of the shipwreck Endurance, which, come on, don't we love it, folks?
We
We
love it.
love when we discover ships. It's the cool, I don't know why, it's just like so exciting.
I think in general, anytime we do something with the ocean, that's positive. It's
Yeah, I'm just
exciting.
like, wow, look,
I
the
think it's more
ocean,
exciting than space, if I'm honest.
1000%. Because the ocean is like with us. Like it's finite, so we know it's there, but it's like almost infinite because it's like so fucking big.
Yeah. And
And
unknown,
I,
untapped.
I
Just
really got like goosebumps when I read this because I just love this shit. Also, can we admit that the beginning of National Treasure is like one of the best movie openings of all time?
you know what? I stand with that.
You know
I'll
what I
co-sign. I'll
mean?
co-sign.
It's just like when he's on that freaking boat and like although he does destroy it, which makes me kind of mad, but like,
Wait,
you
that's so
know.
funny. So that's similar to the Uncharted movie, which I'm gonna just take a venture to guess that you haven't seen it. Um, but so Uncharted, they like I guess spoiler alert, light spoiler alert for the Uncharted movie if you haven't seen it already. But there's this point where they like the whole thing is they're looking for the I think it's like Magellan's ships or something, like really ancient ships, and they find them and then like there's one point where it's like they're like flying through the air and because they're being hoisted like to be transported, and they're just like hitting rocks, they're hitting each other, one sinks in the ground, and like they do make comments, they're like, oh my gosh, it kind of hurts me because this ship is like worth so much in and of itself. But it's just like so funny to me that the whole movie they're like, we need these, and then they find it and they're just like beating the shit out of them.
That's like my favorite episode of SpongeBob of all time is when he's on the Flying Dutchman and he's trying to get it through the rocks and he's like, you're good, and it's just like destroyed by the rocks.
SpongeBob holds up, man. It's so
dude,
good.
SpongeBob rocks. What an amazing show. Speaking of the ocean.
Speaking of amazing shows though, dude. Okay, sorry. I'm not trying to like destroy us and destroy the tangents, okay? But like this does need to be talked about. Is Kate recommended that I started watching Curb Your Enthusiasm. I don't think it was actually on a podcast that she recommended it, but she did recommend it to me. I started watching it. Alex and I are obsessed. We're on like season 3 now. Such a good rec. But
isn't it
we
so
just watched
crazy?
This episode last night, dude, where I had to take a lap. Like I stood up and was just like, I couldn't even walk. I was like crawling around, just like trying to walk it off. But it's the episode where they lose their chef for the restaurant that they're opening.
I haven't seen like all of them. I haven't seen that one.
Kate,
I have to watch that.
It's so fucking funny. I'm gonna try to explain it, but it's still worth watching because I'm not gonna do it justice. But so if you guys don't know, Curb Your Enthusiasm is like, it follows Larry David, who is one of the creators of Seinfeld. It's on HBO Max, and it's just like he just like gets himself in these weird situations and is like
chaos.
He's full chaos. And so this episode, it's like his wife's tennis partner is like it is kind of like not an interesting relationship, but you know those relationships, I mean, I have them where I'm like really close friends with like men and they're single and like I'm obviously married, and it's not that, but there isn't any like sexual energy there, but it's just like, you know, kind of sometimes it's like it's something that you need to have like clear boundaries on, and it can be sticky for some people. And so it's one of those types of relationships with her and her tennis partner. And so there's that going on. There's that Larry learns that you can put club soda and salt on a stain and like rub it out, and then it gets the stain out. And then at some point in the episode, they're shopping at this like home goods spot, and the sales associate is being really like, she's just following Larry around like trying to like help him, and he's like, please stop following me, like I don't want to buy anything, I am just browsing, like stop following me. And then the tables turn because when they're driving behind this woman. He really pisses the woman off, by the way, when he says that to her. So they're driving away and they happen to be driving behind this woman to the point where she calls the cops and has them pull them over and is like, this man's stalking me, like he's following me to get back at me because he thinks I was following him around at like the store I work at, and da-da-da-da. And so she's freaking out on him. And then she's like, my husband's gonna like beat you up, basically, like whatever. So you forget about that. And then later on, they're at this restaurant and it's Larry, his wife, and then his wife's tennis partner. Don't ask how that happened, but they're all at the restaurant, right? And Larry's holding a glass of wine, and the woman from the store's husband walks up and pushes him. He spills his glass of wine on his wife all over her chest. And then the friend gets up and is like, club soda and salt. And so like he throws the club soda on her and is just like rubbing her boobs in front of Larry because he's trying to get the stain out. And it's just, I probably just did the worst explanation. Like if you haven't seen that episode, you have no idea what I'm talking about. Totally worth watching. It's somewhere in the beginning of the 3rd season of the show. Hysterical.
Just, yeah, it's like the best plotted comedy too. It's just like everything comes back, like, and every episode I forget that that's kind of the structure, so I'm always like, that person's back, it's gonna fuck shit up with Larry. Lary's just like an American prophet, like he really is. He is like, I love the man so much.
It reminds me, the like writing structure reminds me of like condensed Arrested Development. Like if you
Yeah.
really think about like the comedic timing of Arrested Development, just like overall plot devices and narratively how they go back to a lot of things, it feels like maybe like a full season arc of Arrested Development condensed into like, what are they, like 30-40 minute episodes?
Yeah. Yeah, I just love them because it's so it's like vaguely realistic, but also like really it's like a circus. And the freaking
Yes.
music makes me laugh so hard.
The
I love
music,
the
I don't know
show.
who did the music on that, but it's so
It's
good.
like 1960s and 1970s Italian comedy scores.
Which incredible, amazing.
Yeah.
But anyways, I'm sure Larry would probably hate boats.
Yeah, Larry's not about boats.
He doesn't. The
And
man
he
doesn't
would
like
not
boats.
be an ice explorer, let's just say. Larry would not survive that.
I
Although
don't think so.
he's pretty lively for being,
How old is
whatever.
he? Not to be
I
rude or
don't know.
anything, but I'm surprised based on how old he looks in those seasons and knowing those seasons were filmed a long time ago. I feel like I'm like kind of surprised he's like still working and like
Oh my
kicking.
God. Larry David. I just looked up Larry Sultan. Wrong Larry. He's 74. I still feel like
Oh,
he's so interesting because he has, he's bald and has white hair, but like something about him is so lively and young.
yeah. No,
I
I
love the
would agree
man.
with that. But also, I like something about the seasons between season 2 and 3. He looks much older in season 3 for some reason, even though there's not, I can't put my finger on it. Alex and I were talking about it. And so now all of a sudden the age gap between him and his wife looks like very exaggerated. Like it kind of looks like she could be his daughter.
Yeah, they're a funny couple.
They are
Oh
very
my
funny. She's
God.
very patient. There's many times
Cheryl.
when I'm like, oh my gosh, if Alex ever tried to pull that shit, I would freak out. Like I would
Freak
divorce
out.
him. I would be gone.
He is kind of like Caleb. I feel like Caleb will be like that when he's older. But
Anyways,
anyways, all right, let's get into
let's
it,
get into
folks. I don't have a good segue, but okay, back to the freaking Endurance. We discovered it. Sid, rip that first picture.
Yoo-hoo!
Just
Check
rip
that
every.
out.
Look at that. That's so cool.
Beautiful.
So, they discovered this ship. It was discovered after 106 years.
Wow.
It had been
Look at
crushed
that.
in packed ice and sank during an exploration by the explorer Ernest Shackleton. And this guy is crazy. We're gonna learn about him.
Ernest is crazy.
Ernest like
Gosh.
absolutely went off in the ice, let's just say.
Like, I would rather explore this ship than an alien ship, if I'm honest.
1000%.
Like, this is
Because it's like an alien
so.
ship. I don't know how to relate
It,
to it emotionally.
but
I don't
also
know what's going
this
on.
is alien. You know, like look at this shit.
I know. And like all the like sea creatures that have attached themselves to it, I just That's why I have to say the visuals of Pirates of the Caribbean 2 with the Flying Dutchman are like chef's kiss because you love to see it. Remember
Love
when
it.
the guy's like part of the ship? I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Um okay, so a team of adventurers, marine archaeologists, and technicians located this wreck at the bottom of the Weddell Sea, which is Weddell? Who's to say?
Do the Waddells
Um,
own? I feel like they'd own a deli also,
They probably do.
and a
They
sea.
have a vast network. You don't mess with them. I'll say that much because they'll sink your goddamn ship. Um, but they sank the ship. No, I'm kidding. That's their fake conspiracy. East of the Antarctic Peninsula. And they discovered it with these freaking underwater drones. If you go to the next picture, we'll see another sick shot of. Look at that! You can see the ship. It's you
Dude.
love to see it.
Wow.
I know.
Look, you can see like the wood grain. Also, everyone who's listening, this is bad radio. I'm sorry. But also check these out on our Instagram, please. So sick.
Yeah, they're on our Instagram. We're looking at the photo of the ship with its name. Like even the stars on it. You love to see it.
Well, and I like how that's like the sea anemone has like claimed this territory as its own. It's just so
I know.
sick.
Yeah. Oof.
So these
Love
pictures
it.
were taken with the sea drones.
Yeah, and then I think the next picture should be the drone. Yes, look at that thing.
I was
So
picturing
cool.
like a small drone.
It's like kind of a big guy.
Looks
I
like a
guess it would be
boat.
hard to use a small one, right? Because like it would need to be able to, yeah.
The like
Now that
tides
we
and
have
stuff.
drones, I mean, that's sticky territory. But it's cool that we can like go really crazy places underwater now that we have this technology.
Agreed,
That's really
agreed.
exciting to me. Um, the UFOs are underneath our waters. Let's just say that much. Um, so this ship was discovered after more than 2 weeks of searching in a 150 square mile radius from when the ship went down in 1915. Because kind of good news, I'm pretty sure everyone survived, which is kind of
Oh,
sick.
yeah.
I'm saying pretty sure because that's what I've read, and I'm sure maybe one or I don't know, maybe someone died, but I'm pretty sure everyone lived, which is really exciting because usually it's really depressing because you're like,
Yeah.
and they all died.
Especially in 1915.
Um,
That's
and
impressive.
and it's a really so I'm gonna talk about the ship and then I'm gonna talk about the rescue operation because it's really interesting. Um, so this ship, the Endurance, was a 144-foot, three-masted wooden ship. So it's like one of those old. I think there's another picture of it in the ice. Um, Look at that
Whoa.
crazy ass thing.
That it's also very pretty, and I'm not like a person that's like ships, yum, but it's
No,
very
I'm on board with
beautiful.
this shit. It's so beautiful. And so it was battling sea ice and freezing temperatures. And it basically got stuck in the ice and like had a slow like decline into sinking.
Oh, geez.
And
I wonder at what
it
point when you're stuck in ice were they like, hey, we gotta get out of
Oh, we're
here.
gonna get into
Oh,
that. We're
okay,
gonna get
okay.
into that. So, its final sinking place was 10,000 feet underwater, in like the coldest water in the freaking planet. And it's like one of the most celebrated shipwrecks ever discovered. And this just
Wow.
happened, which is so cool. Um, and so Menson Bound, who is the exhibition's exploration director, Menson Bound, what a great name. Good for
Wait,
him.
that's the man's name? Like first name
Yeah,
Benson, last name Bound?
yeah, good for
Wow.
him. He is the exploration director and a marine archaeologist, which has to be one of the coolest jobs of all time. Um, he's discovered many shipwrecks, but he says this is the one of the finest he's ever seen because it's in an insane state of preservation. And that's likely because of the cold water and the lack
Mm.
of wood-eating marine organisms. So it's
Oh.
basically just like pretty well preserved down there, except for the little sea anemones who like were like new house. Um, so it was the ship's final resting place was 4 miles south of its last location. That was recorded by Ernest Shackleton's navigator, Frank Worsley. And the initial search was like really broad because they were like, oh, maybe maybe he didn't know like exactly where they left off, kind of him.
Yeah.
Turns out he was right. It was 4 miles. Um, So the wreck is intact, meaning like most of the ship is like how it was. The most damage was to the mast and the rigging, which are
Like
things
this
that go up.
this part?
Yeah. Um, and there had been some damage to the hull, but most of the ship is in one piece. Um, and so these cool ass drones scanned the seafloor twice a day for about 6 hours, and they used sonar to like scan the seabed to see if there's anything coming up from it. Um, and once it was located, they swapped out that for like more high res cameras so they could get like
Mm.
super good images of it. And that's how we have those like crazy pictures. Um, and so apparently, under the Antarctic Treaty, it's a 6 decade old pact meant to protect the region. The wreck is considered a historical monument, and so we can't like touch it or like
Like bring
unearth
it
it.
up.
So basically, we're just taking a shitload of images and video so we can make educational materials for museums, and they're probably going to make a documentary, which I will watch.
Very cool.
Um, so what happened to the ship? I know
Yeah.
we're all wondering. So this picture actually was taken when it was stuck in the ice because there's a photographer on board, which
Wow.
is the reason why we'll have these crazy images that you'll see as the story unfolds. So Ernest Shackleton left England aboard the Endurance with a crew of 27 in 1914, which I just have to say, the fact that we had ships like this working in 1914 is so crazy to me.
Wait, but
Like,
1914 wasn't like that long ago.
I know, isn't that so crazy that like these ships were like still being used then? Like marine tech or like boating technology has gotten so advanced, it's like kind of sick.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it can really confuses my brain just like thinking about because like 1914, so my grandma isn't 100, but she's in her 90s or almost 90.
Yeah,
And it's like that like was really close to 1914. That like wasn't that long ago.
I know. I think my grandma was born in 1927 or 29, which is like, and then to think about the things that like she saw as like reality is so, so crazy.
Yeah. And
Respect your elders,
now
man.
we're video
Learn their
chatting,
stories. Yeah,
talking about like recording it to the internet and talking
I
about this
know.
ship we found underwater. Weird.
Nothing will be underwater in our day. It'll all be on the internet. Just kidding. No, probably will. Um, anyways, okay. Two. So he was headed for the Weddell Sea, which was meant to be the starting point for an attempt for him and a small party to cross Antarctica, like over
Yeah.
the land ice, which I mean, that's crazy. I just Antarctica is like such a like it's like hurts my brain to think about because it's just like down there and it's just ice.
I mean, but it's
It's
not gonna
such
like
a
fall off. You say it's down there, like it's like
I mean, it's
dangling.
just like such an interesting it's just like this ice thing on the bottom of our globe and it's like purgatory basically, right?
Yeah. That's where they you know, in Lost when they would die, that's where they actually were in Antarctica.
Is that true? I never watched the show,
No.
spoiler. Okay.
No,
Okay.
everybody the whole thing when everybody was watching was they were like, "Oh, the whole plane died and they're all just in purgatory."
Oh, I like that
Which
theory. Or like we don't like that. I don't know. What is your thoughts on that?
I mean, I like don't want to say too much because I don't like spoiling it because I think it's a show worth watching at least like the first like 5, 6 seasons. Um, but I feel like it would have been fine. They wrote themselves into a corner, right? Because it's like the purgatory thing just like didn't feel satisfying after a certain point.
Yeah, because it's like, okay,
But
sure.
I sorry,
Um,
spoilers. They weren't on Antarctica the whole time. I'm sorry to be the one
okay.
to break the
Why wouldn't
news.
have even thought of that? Um, so this era, 1914, was kind of the end of what was known as the heroic age of Antarctic exploration, which included treks by Norwegian Roald Amundsen, who in 1911 was the first to reach the pole, which is kind of crazy that that's like not that long ago, and that's the first
Yeah.
time that we reached the pole of Antarctica.
Did we know that that was
Um,
there the whole time, or did we both discover and reach it at the same time? Like, did he was he like was it this thing kind of like everybody's trying to get to the pole, or
I think we knew. I'm not totally sure, but I don't really know what they thought else. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what else they thought it was. I
yeah,
think it was more of like a feat of like that's crazy that we got to
that we did
this.
that?
Um and then Robert Falcon Scott, who was a famous British Antarctic explorer, died trying to reach it a month later. So he didn't make it. So a lot of business was happening in Antarctica. It was really exciting. Everyone wanted in on it, including our boy Ernest. I'm forgetting his last name. Shackleton. That's his last name. Okay.
Shackleton.
So, uh lost my place. Okay. So, when the ship took off from England, made its way down to Antarctica, and as it first encountered ice, um the it kind of slowed its journey a little bit. They're like, no, but like it's good, like we're still gonna get there, like it's fine. Until they finally reached the Weddell Sea, and then it was like not happening. They were just like, there's so much ice that they were, because if you think about it, it's just like ice is kind of floating off the continent. And so
Mm-hmm.
as you get closer to it, you're just like battling these like floating pieces of ice. Um, and I learned what this meant, which is an ice flow, which is basically unattached ice that's just floating in the sea. But like as you get close, I guess a thing to consider when you're doing polar explorations is like those start to get more and more dense, and then you can just get stuck, even though you're technically in the ocean. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. It's almost like the
So it's
liquid
like,
space like runs out
yeah,
because it's just
yeah,
like
because it's like,
solid water instead, aka
yeah.
ice.
But they're not like attached to anything. It's just because it's so freaking cold that like there's just a shitload of ice there.
Yeah.
Um, and so in on January 19th, 1915, the Endurance became frozen in an ice floe. It's FLOE. Don't know how to flow,
Flow?
like aloe flow.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be like
Um,
flow, like
and
aloe.
they're like, eh, shit. But they were like, oh, we'll probably like be able to get out. It's gonna be fine. But then, all right, so that was January 19th. February 24th,
So almost a month
they
later.
realized, I don't know if we're gonna get out of this, you guys. Like it was basically like a month, yeah. Um, and so they Shackleton ordered the abandonment of the ship's routine, making the ship a winter station. So it's like no longer a ship, it's basically like a floating cabin.
Okay. That sucks for them, but sure.
Um, so I guess they weren't panicked yet. They're like, this is all good, part of the plan. And so as this is happening, the ship is slowly drifting north through with the ice as the ice is shifting
Oh.
for the following months. Okay, like they're on this for so long. And so when spring arrived in September, because remember, this is the Southern Hemisphere, so it's flopped for
Flip flop.
us Northern Hemisphere people. Um, the ice started breaking, which you think would be good, but this actually was really bad because it's kind of breaking apart the ship.
Oh. Especially I'm sure if it's like so integrated with the ice at that point because it's been stuck there for like multiple
Yeah, it's just
months.
like a yeah. So he, up until that point, Shackleton thought that the ship could be released with the ice as it like warms up, and that they could make their way back to like a land. But yeah, that didn't happen. So on October 24th, so this first happened in January, so it's like been a long ass time. In October, water began pouring in on the ship, and after a few days, Shackleton was like, "Yeah, we got to abandon ship,"
A few days? It
and
takes that
said
long
she's
for
going down, which
Wait, it
you
takes that
hate to
long
also love to hear.
for a ship to go down? Like multiple
Yeah,
days? I thought this happens like
I
over the
think
course of
because
like
it
an
wasn't.
hour.
I think that's just when you get the Kraken.
Oh. Okay, got it.
No, I'm kidding. I think this is because it was frozen and it's just like little leaks are happening everywhere.
Okay, okay. It's not like,
It's like a slow
there's a hole
decay.
or something. Like a big
If that
hole.
makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that happens, yeah, if it's like a big hole. It's like a more extreme situation. So, they all the people, the men, the provisions, the equipment were taken off the ship because it's literally just like ice all around them. And on November 21st, the wreck had finally slipped below the surface. So like a month later, basically, the ship was disappeared. So this is
Okay.
the part that just blows my mind. The rest of the story. Go to the next picture, Sid. I kind of forget this. I think Oh, that's Ernest Shackleton, our boy. Look at him.
Ernest, look at him. I like his hat.
Yeah.
It's like half like
Um,
cowboy hat, like half like top hat.
yeah,
It's
it's
nice.
wow, a man
Very
of mystery.
innovative.
Um, you actually take this down for a second. We'll get there. Um, so they are off the ship. And for 2 months, I just can't I can barely stay outside for an entire afternoon without feeling exhausted. So this just really is wild to me. They camped on a large flat piece of ice, a floe, just a floating piece of ice for 2 months.
Did they have like blankets and tents? What the heck?
Yeah, they had provisions, but just like it can't be that comfortable.
Can you
I
imagine
would
how
be
tired you
panicking the
must
whole
be
time.
at the end of that? Yeah, do you think they had anxiety?
I'm sure.
I forget. I always
Like,
forget that like anxiety and like mental health like things existed when I listen to like historical tellings. Like I feel like my brain is like, oh, this is like new. Like this started in like the 2000s. But then you
yeah, no,
realize
they're
that it's like, oh no. Like imagine what's his name? Ernest must have been feeling. Like he must have been so
he must have
anxious.
been like, I think maybe because like the situation's so extreme, they probably shut down and are just like, all right, we just got to
For
get through
that long
this.
though, I just feel like it's like for like prolonged, I guess you totally can, but you're like gonna be so fucked up when you're like kind of
I
back to
know.
reality and your body's able to be like, oh wait, we're safe.
Well, most of these people were, so I feel like, I don't know. That's a overstatement, but yeah, I am so curious what people were thinking. I didn't really find that much info about like people's recollections of it.
Yeah.
So that won't really be contained in this, but I think it's fun to guess what people were thinking. Um, so they were hoping that this piece of ice would drift towards this island, which was 250 miles away.
They were
Um,
hoping they did.
yeah, they're like probably like maybe this will get there, and I guess some like business occasionally happened there, like other ships passed by, so they're like, all right, like this could work. Um, but yeah, that didn't happen. So after failed attempts to march across the ice, because it's just basically like an ice field of floating ice. But it's not land. It's like super interesting because it is the ocean, but it's just a bunch of floating ice. So they were like, all right, we're gonna try to like cross this floating ice to get to land. Um, but that didn't happen. So then he was like, all right, let's find a different piece of floating ice to set up a more permanent camp, like a better piece of ice, I guess.
Okay.
And maybe that will get us to safety. So it kind of worked because on St. Patrick's Day, 17th of March, a year and month after they initially were trapped, their ice camp was within 60 miles of Paulette Island, which is basically like uh, the tip of South America. It's like
Okay.
below that. That's where we're talking.
And was that where they were hoping that their flow would float to?
Yeah, they were hoping it would get close to there. So, he's not wrong. This kind of worked for him. Spoiler alert. But so on April 9th, this floe that they were camping on broke into two.
Wow,
And he
the
was
luck
like,
here.
you guys, let's get onto the lifeboats. I guess they were trying to preserve their lifeboats because when they were so far away, they're like, there's no way we'll like survive if we
Yeah.
get on the boats. Like, we'll just continue to be stuck in ice. So he's like, all right, get onto the boats. We're gonna reach land. Um,
Wait, sorry. I
so
this is so they crashed in February.
yeah, 1915.
And then
This
you said
is
October. Is this the next year?
this is the next
Okay,
year.
okay.
How do they have that much provisions? That's my question. I don't
Yeah.
understand.
I mean, I guess it would have depended on, granted, they had already made it to Antarctica and that was their journey. I guess they would have had enough to go to Antarctica and then go back, right?
Yes, they probably had like a
Quite a
lot.
bit.
It's so crazy to me.
It was good that it sounds like they were well stocked though.
Yeah. So thank God. Always be well stocked. I guess that's the lesson.
Always be
Um,
prepared.
so he was like, get on the boats. We're gonna split apart on these ice things if we don't. So they get on the boats, and after 5 days at sea on these tiny ass boats, they reach this place called Elephant Island, which is 346 miles from where their ship sank. So they've
Wow.
traveled pretty far.
Yeah. Wait,
Um,
how do you think they used the bathroom on those ships?
they just peed over for sure.
Oh, I guess they're all men. Okay.
Yeah. Um, I think even women you would just kind of squat over, right?
Just sounds dangerous if it's like a small boat and
I actually
trying not to
have
like capsize.
I have a really sad story that I be how I know women go over pee over the bit ship. We grew up with this woman who was one of my mom's friend who escaped to Vietnam, and she had this crazy story about her family being on like a little boat trying to escape. And
Wow.
she was like the worst part was just like having to go to the bathroom. You tried to hold it for as long as possible because when you had to go over, you would lose your seat until the next person decided that they finally had to go. So you just had to like stand on the boat. It was so sad.
Jeez.
But anyways, I don't really have a good but
Segue.
she survived and she's a very successful pharmacist
Woo!
where I grew up. So
Big fan. Good
good for
for
Mrs.
her.
Fawn. Um okay, so they finally reached Elephant Island after 5 days in their lifeboats, which is like I said, 340 miles away from where their boat initially sank. And okay, this is the first time they stood on solid ground for 497 days.
Oh my gosh. Wow, they really did
And
endure.
they sure did. Their ship did not lie. And Shackleton, I mean, I don't know if this is propaganda or if like he really was a great guy, but it's been said that he was so concerned for his men that he gave his mittens to photographer Frank Hurley, who's the guy who has taken all these pictures, who has lost his during the boat journey. And Shackleton suffered frostbitten fingers as a result of giving his mittens away,
Do
which is
you
like so
think
sweet.
this photo of him was like a thank you gift? He's like, hey man,
He's like,
thanks.
I'll take
Sorry
like
about the
a
frostbite, but
badass
like,
picture of you.
I'll take a badass picture of you and I'll like
I mean,
crop
kind
out
of
your
worth it,
hands.
right?
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, I don't know what the other guy
that's the
looks
picture of
like.
him, and I think he's like a cool guy. So, I mean, we don't
I'm
see his
sure he did.
fingers, so
He did it. He was like, some lady, some bitch in 2022 is gonna look at this picture and be like, I'm a cool guy, and that's gonna make it all worth
and
it.
that's all good. Yeah. It's all we can hope for, really. um, so Elephant Island, which is where they landed, was super inhospitable, even though it technically was an island. And it
Hmm.
was really far from shipping routes. And did I send you? I didn't send you this, which I will send now. So this is not the Elephant Island, but they got to Elephant Island because they were hoping to get to uh the distant South Georgia whaling station, which is right there. So
Wait, which?
just to
Sorry.
orient us, I'm not sure which one it is. It's one of those islands,
Okay, got it.
basically.
Okay.
Um, so they were like all the way down in Antarctica. They got pretty far. Like that's pretty far. But Elephant Island is, sorry, 700 miles away from those islands, which is where they were like, if we get there, then I think we
Oh,
could
okay.
maybe be good.
Oh, that's so
Um,
far.
yeah, Elephant Island, I think, is still pretty much Antarctica. So he was like, I think we got to do it. So he decided to risk an open boat journey for 720 miles to the South Georgia whaling station, where he knew that help was there. So one of the strongest lifeboats was a tiny 20-foot boat called the James Caird, after the expedition's chief sponsor. And the ship's carpenter, Harry McNish, made various improvements, including raising the sides, strengthening the keel, and making a makeshift deck of wood and canvas, and sealing it with oil paint and seal blood.
Wow.
So they could make this ship. And that's that next picture. That's the James Caird. Um, can you imagine? I just
Wow.
like crazy. And so he chose 5 companions for the journey. I wrote their names down, but it's really just going to go over our heads. So he chose 5 people to go with him. And they set out, and he refused to pack a bunch like more supplies than 4 weeks because he was like, listen, if we don't make it in 4 weeks, like we're dead, and we shouldn't take more food from the people that are trying that, because they had to leave people on that frozen
Yeah.
island because they all
Well,
couldn't
wait, I
go.
thought they were on Elephant Island at this point.
Yeah, sorry, Elephant Island, the frozen Elephant Island.
Okay.
They had to leave behind 22 people, I believe it was.
That's kind of nice
So
though
they're
that,
like, we'll take as much provisions.
that's kind of nice though that there was like 20 people they were leaving behind versus like imagine if it was like, okay, we're taking 5 and then there's like 3 left over.
Yeah. Because if I was one of the 3 left, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna die.
This is
Like
done
it's
for
not
me.
happening. So at least it's like a nice community.
Yeah, it's a little village.
So uh the James Card was launched on 24th of April 1916. So like literally like a month and or sorry, a year and 6 months after they've been sunk.
Oh my
And
gosh.
during the next 15 days, it sailed through the frozen ocean. It was at the mercy of storming seas. I think I have an illustration that kind of gives a vibe check on.
This
Is that the
guy?
next
Is it
picture?
this? Or this one?
Yeah, the one before that. So imagine that for literally 15 days. And
Wow.
they were in constant peril of capsizing because the ocean's really rough down there. And on May 8th, they reached the cliffs of South Georgia. Crazy. Insane. Thanks to the guy's navigational skills, Worsley, who the guy, when they discovered Endurance this year, they were like, he might not have been right. But seems like this guy knew his shit.
Yeah,
So
jeez.
props to him. Um, but the thing is, so they reached the island, but there was hurricane type wind that met them that made them unable to land for a while. And so
Stop it.
they had to ride out the storm in their boat offshore, and they were in constant danger of being smashed against the rock.
At what point do you just get out and swim?
That's I think because that's what I always thought. I'm always like, okay, I would survive a shipwreck because like I can swim pretty well. But I think when the ocean is so choppy, you're just like gonna drown. That's just like gonna happen.
Yeah. Okay,
Which
okay.
is
I'll accept that.
I
That makes
don't
sense.
I think
Riptides.
I haven't like seen for my own eyes like what a really choppy ocean looks like. So it's like hard to comprehend, but I think it's just like hell.
Yeah.
It's like a watery hell.
I accept that.
Um so they do survive this only to later learn this is how they must have felt like such badasses because they learned that this same hurricane had sunk a 500-ton steamer nearby.
Meanwhile, their little dinky ship is
They're like, we got this,
wow.
guys.
Wow. The
So
ingenuity.
they got there, they had to rest and recuperate because they were pretty beaten up by this. And instead of risking another sea journey to get to the other side of the island, because that's where they needed to be, there's actually nothing on this side of the island, which is just like, of course. Um, they he was like, all right, we're gonna have to cross it through land. And they didn't really have any land supplies. So they kind of made do by putting screws into their boots to be climbing boots. And they had about 50 feet of rope to help them scale these like really intense cliffs.
I feel like I'm exhausted for them at this point. Like I'm
I
so
know.
tired.
I
Oh my
know.
gosh, these people.
So he traveled with two other people, I believe. He left the navigator on the side. The Oh, no. He took the navigator. Sorry. He took the
You say
navigator,
that seems like a
but
guy you'd want.
he left three other people on the other side. He's like, "We'll be back, guys. Don't worry." Um, and they climbed the mountainous terrain for 36 hours and finally reached a whaling station, Stromness, on May 20th.
Wow.
Whew, we got there, boys.
Wow.
So, in 1955, right, another person crossed this situation, like climbed the situation that he did. It was a British explorer, Duncan Carse, and he wrote, quote, "I don't know how they did it, except that they had to. Three men of the heroic age of exploration with 50 feet of rope between them." He's just like completely blown away that they were able to do this.
Well, and if you remember that it's like they're not normal people that have just like been able to recuperate. Like they have been living on like ice camping basically for like over a year at this point. Like you have to be
That's what he
so
said.
beat up.
He said that they like were so like skinny and like they had gotten so tan because you know how like the snow makes you like it's even brighter.
Yeah.
So they just were like really crazy looking.
Wow.
And so when he got there, he immediately had a boat go pick up the other three guys. And then he set to work to try to organize a rescue of the people back on Elephant Island.
The people on the island, that's right. The like 20 something.
So after three attempts that were all moot because of these freaking ice flows, he finally got to appeal to the Chilean government, which offered the use of a tugboat called the Yelko. And it finally reached the island on August 30th, 1916, at which the men had been isolated there alone for 4.5. And he evacuated
Wow.
all 22 men. And after a lot of sailing back, they finally reached Valparaiso, Chile, where crowds greeted them back to civilization. And so they all freaking
Wow.
survived. And
That's
then this
wild.
year, we discovered their ship. So they really endured, let's just say. They
They
stuck to the
endured.
name.
They
They stuck to their
endured.
branding.
Oh my
So,
gosh, though.
right? And so that's the story of the Endurance. I have been reading it, but I didn't really know like what happened, and so
Yeah.
I wanted to share that because we're not sure if everyone knew what the big deal with this ship was.
I did not know what the big deal. I assumed it was just like a preserved ship, but I didn't realize that. Jeez, I'm like really in shock and awe of just like what? Like how do you survive that none of them died? The resilience of the group, like oh my gosh.
I know. Oh wait, go to the next picture. I think this is oh, so that's them reaching the South Georgian island where they were gonna rest. Their have a little vacation. Um, not sure how comfortable it was. And then go to the next one. This is like it's actually is a fake picture. It's come out that it's doctored, but this is a imagining of what it was like when they came back and saved the people from Elephant Island.
Wow.
Um, can you imagine? That would be so exciting.
Oh
I
my
bet that's
gosh.
pure joy though. Like I bet like even though that's probably got to be like, so much pain and toil that like having like seeing something on the horizon that's going to save you must feel like fully religious.
Oh, I'm
You must be
sure.
like changed.
But also, how do they integrate themselves back into society? You know, like, do you think it's like they come back and then they're like, okay, well, now I got to get another job. So, like,
Well, what's crazy is I didn't research too much more, but I know that he literally like was involved in World War I, and then he had involvement Shackleton, and then he had involvement in the Russian Revolution.
Wow.
And like he just like went on to do more stuff. But I
He had a
did
lot of
read
energy.
somewhere, I didn't write it down, that he had kind of a hard time adjusting back, that he was kind of angsty. Because I mean, how could you like?
Yeah.
I bet everything seems like really trivial after you've been through
Yeah.
this.
I wonder
You
how
know,
many
it's like,
times they
what are
thought
you
they were gonna
talking about?
die.
Probably like every 15 minutes. I don't know.
Jeez. Wow. Well, the endurance, man.
I recently heard the story of this guy who was uh sh- fishing off of Baja in Mexico, and he floated to the South Pacific after his ship went off course. Maybe I'll do that one as another episode,
Dude,
but like
boats, ocean, just all of it. What?
yeah, crazy stuff. But at
Wow.
least this is a survival story. Usually it's the other way around.
Woo.
So
I know. I don't know that we've ever had a survival story on this podcast.
it's usually like
It's usually the opposite of a survival story.
Wim Hof.
Well, Wim Hof wasn't really. That was such. Don't even bring that episode up. That was a bad episode. It was literally me being like, this guy fucking breathes funny, man, and he like can get really cold.
Yeah.
But wow. Okay, man. Well, thanks. That was amazing. And
Yeah, you're
congratulations
welcome.
to the crew of Endurance.
Congratulations to everyone around.
Yeah, I feel like I have to like applaud. Goodness, that's
I know. It's like,
good job, everybody.
go humans. We did something, guys. We survived.
The resilience, the leadership. It's impressive. And then we found the boat, so that's great.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
Well,
thank you, everyone.
yeah, thanks for listening. Don't forget, new episodes every Friday. We put the video up on YouTube. If you made it this far without seeing any of the pictures are wild. So please go to our Instagram, Shut Up, Keep Going, all one word, to check those out. And we typically record live over on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/SidSoGood, around like 9:15 a.m. Pacific and whatever the Eastern conversion of that time is. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.